Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. We are working on some new projects today. The weather has finally cleared out. The rain has moved out for at least a couple of days. We're going to see what we can get done. In the last video, we did the practice run trying out the new lathe, and that's what we're going to be running with now, our brand new lathe from Harbor Freight. This is the Central Machinery 10 by 18 mini wood lathe, which is going to be perfect for the size projects that we do. I have a couple of projects that I'm working on today. Hopefully I'll get to both of them. I'm not sure yet. One of them, this is something I saw on YouTube on another channel, another workshop, another wood turning channel that was done about 3 or 4 years ago. And I saw it. I liked the idea. So I'm going to give it a try here while I'm waiting on some more things to come in. I have one more tool coming in. Hopefully it'll be here by the time I get ready to do the next portion of this video, or the next video rather, and if not, we'll work on it maybe sometime tomorrow. But we're going to get started on this, see what we can do, bring around, and you know what, we're going to hold off until I get it going before I tell you exactly what my plan is. So here we go, let's get turning. Okay, so we have our piece mounted on the lathe, and this is what we have. This is a piece of cherry. Now this has a little nub right here from the limb, and I'm hoping to keep all of this part right here natural. I don't want to change anything about this yet. A little bit of cleanup here and see if there is any bug damage or anything like that before I get too in depth with it. Once I get this in here, this is going to be the top, get this cleaned up and everything, and we're going to go from there. And I'm probably going to place my faceplate on this end here once I get it cleaned up and get it where I want it, and then we'll work on the final turning from there and see how things go. I'm not really 100% sure yet exactly how I'm going to go with this, because this is a project that I'm not too sure about. We're going to see how it turns out. I would love to have a bigger piece, but this is the largest piece that I have in my stock laying around. This has been laying out for about 2-3 months, maybe a little bit longer, from where I cut down some large limbs off of a cherry tree here, and it's been laying out. It's been in the weather, but it is sort of dry, not 100% dry, and I don't want it to be 100% dry because of the type of work that I'm doing with this. If this turns out the way that I'm hoping, I'll get back with you in just a moment and let you know what the piece is going to be. But for now, let's see if we can start getting this cleaned up, bringing it true, and see what it turns out. Here we go. Let's get turning. Now, just because this wood is kind of green and kind of dry, I don't want to bring out my new tools yet. This one is still roughly sharp. I sharpened it not long ago, shortly after I finished my last piece. So we're going to use my old gouge here to do the rough cutting on this and bring it true, and then we'll bring out the new tools and go from there. So let's get going. And by the way, I still have this set on the slowest speed from the last time, which was around 750 RPM. There's a little bit of vibration, but not a whole lot. Once we start bringing this true, that vibration will go away. So here we go. All right, now this is what I was looking for to see if there was any bug damage. Appears to be a little bit right here. We may be able to turn past that. If I'm able to turn past it, then I'm going to continue on with this piece and see what I can come up with. So we're going to continue moving and see what we have and go from there. Okay, so I forgot to turn the camera on there for a short period, but that's okay because I had to make a quick change. This piece has a lot of bug damage, termite damage actually, but I think I was able to turn past most of the damage and past any live termites. I'm going to turn a little bit more. I did put a little bit of fire to it just to try to kill any small termites that I might not have been able to see in this piece. I think most of it was at what's going to be the top of this, and the bottom portion was still relatively okay. But you can see I put a little bit of fire to that to try to kill off anything that might be on there. Make a quick change. I wanted to leave the bark on there, but I needed to see what was going on in there to see whether or not it was a usable piece. We are going to turn just a little bit more. However, I need to kind of clean up the area right here. I got a lot of shavings that might have some termites in it, and I want to get rid of it, so I'm going to blow it out away from everything here, and I will be right back. Okay, so the bottom portion of this seems to be okay. I don't see any damage on here. We're going to do some more burning to it when we get done with it anyway. I didn't get to leave the bark on there. However, I was able to leave most of the natural look to it. My goal was to have kind of a rustic, unfinished, emerging vase coming out of the log, and that was my goal, and that's the reason I wanted to leave the bark and everything, but I want to make sure that this is clean and clear of any insects before I finish it. It looks like we've got everything going good now. The bottom portion is pretty solid. It was just a very top section up there, and we were able to turn past all of that damage, get everything cleaned up. See absolutely no evidence, even after turning now. I see no evidence of any more termites that we see, so I think we got that. It was early damage that had just started, so luck got on that. But I'm still going to work on this. I've got an idea on how to continue this and bring it on into my original plan. I just hope that it works out the way that I'm thinking it will. So let's give it a try. This is just a kind of a practice piece while I'm waiting on everything to show up for the remainder of our work portion. So let's get back to turning. Same size gouge, but I want you to look at the difference in the flutes on this. This is a more flattened flute, almost a straight, while this has more of a view to it. So I'm going to switch over to my new tools here, and this is another set that I got from Harbor Freight. This is a Windsor design. I've been pleased with the smaller pieces of this. We're going to try out this one now and get going. So here we go. Okay, so I have now mounted this to my faceplate, and I began working on it. I went ahead and pulled the tailstop back up just for a little added extra support there. But we have the faceplate mounted on. Now we're going to start working on the final touch on this, and then we're going to come back and we're going to hollow out our piece, and we're going to bring out the fire. So here we go. Okay, so I'm new to wood turning, and I'm not a wood carver, that's for sure. But the fact of the matter is, what we want with this piece is, well, let me flip the camera around and show you. Basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get just a rough carving look, sort of an unfinished piece that is coming out of the limb, and it's going to be an unfinished piece that is going to make the appearance of being caught in a fire of some sort, maybe a brush fire or something like that. So we're going to put some fire to this, but first thing we got to do is we got to come out here, we're going to remove the tailstock, and we're going to come in, we're going to clean up this portion right here, kind of concave it in, and we're going to bore a hole in it, and then we'll come back here and we will either part it off right here, or we'll take it over to the chop saw and cut it there. But I'm probably going to try to part it off right here with my parting tools. So let's get back to it. Okay, so I ended up removing the faceplate because the wood is just too green. The screws could not hold. There's just still too much moisture in there for the screws to hold. However, while I was in the process of doing that and removing everything, I had a delivery truck to show up, and our new 4-jaw chuck just arrived. So we're going to open that up and see if we can turn a tenon and try that instead. So here we go. All right, so our new 4-jaw self-centering chuck just came in, and it includes a worm screw that can be used on this as well. I'm not going to use it on this piece, but we are going to turn a tenon and see what we can get on this. So this is about the, I want to say this is about the max width that I would be willing to go, which is more than enough for this piece. I'm not going to go that big, so we're going to just kind of tighten this up here, and we're going to take a quick measurement to see what we can get and go from there. So let's take some measurements and get a tenon going. All right, so we have a tenon going, and we're going to get this going now. We're going to go ahead and turn a tenon on the end of this, and then we're going to mount it to the chuck. Cross our fingers and see how well this chuck does versus the other one. Here we go. Okay, so we have a tenon turned on the end, and it's pretty close to where I can go, because those jaws will open up a little bit more, actually a good bit more. And I'm going to give you plenty of meat here, but now I'm going to go back and I'm going to take my small skew here, and I'm going to put a little bit of a dovetail on this just so we can get kind of a good bite on it. So here we go. So far, so good. There's not a whole lot of wobble there, so I'm liking that. So I'm going to move my tool rest into place. I'm going to lock it down, and we're going to go with our smallest gouge here and see what we can do with the end piece here. So here we go. Okay, that was my bad. I actually got a catch on that, but that's not a problem. We're going to lock it back down and tighten it back in place. So let's put our live center back in. move the tailstock back up. All right, so I have positioned this on the lathe, and I have pulled the tailstock up tight to kind of help hold it in place while I do the tightening. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. I want to bring this as tight as I possibly can. We want it to hold in place. All right, that's about as tight as I can get it. All right, it seems to be holding up pretty good. Now, this is a long piece, so I'm going to be careful. I'm going to keep it on the slow setting for right now. We're going to see how it goes. I've actually been turning this entire piece on 750 RPMs, which has been really good. I'm not going to sand this because I want to keep the unfinished look to it. And then, of course, we're going to come back, we're going to burn as well, and then we're going to spray it with a lacquer. I'm not going to put any oil on this. I'm just going to spray it with a lacquer. Now, over time, this will crack because it is green wood. It's going to continue to dry, and over time it will crack, but that's okay because this is supposed to be an unfinished rustic piece, a piece that appears to be found in a burn pile that was unfinished and was just maybe tossed to the side. I don't know. We're going to kind of go with the flow, see how it goes. It's art. It's not going to be serving functional use for holding any type of liquid or anything like that. It will be an artistic piece. So again, this is a relatively long piece. We're going to keep this on a slow setting, and then we're going to go from there. Let's see how well this new truck holds up. Okay, so we made a little bit of a modification. You have to look over my dog barking. The neighbors are out next door. Remove the end plate from the end of our stock bed here so that we can actually move our tailstock back just a little bit further beyond that range that it's set for. And we have it locked down now. We've got our Jacobs chuck in, and now we're going to attempt to bore a hole down the center of this. So let's see how this does. We're going to take this as slow as possible until we see how it does. I may end up having to do this by hand. I've got a little bit of a wobble here with that bit going in, but that is okay. Okay, I'm going to slide the tailstock up a little bit more, lock it back down. All right, so that's working out pretty good. Let's slide the tailstock up a little bit more. I want to try to go relatively, not super deep, but deep enough on this that it can hold the stems of some artificial plants. Now, I want to show you one thing. You'll see right here we had a chip out on this earlier, but that's okay because this is going to be a piece that was caught in a fire, so maybe it got a little bit of damage to it in the process. But this is art, unfinished piece. You know, maybe we was going to remove that and change it to something else, and then just decided, oh well, forget it. But it turned out to become a piece of art instead. So let's keep going, see how it does. Okay, that's about as far as I want to go with this bit. I'm going to pull this back out and lock it back down. Actually, I need to take it off long enough that I can get this Jacob's chuck out. I actually just loosened the chuck up. I'm going to remove this bit, and I'm going to come back in and put a spade bit in instead. Alright, I'm going to put this 1-inch spade bit in, and we're going to see how this does. I'm not sure how it's going to do with the turning and with the fact that this chuck just isn't locking in super good. Got the chuck key here, so let's give it a tighten. And now here we go. Uh-oh. I'll back off just a little bit. Oh, we're getting a little bit of a wobble here. Most of it is actually coming from the tailstock. I can't lock this down because naturally I got to be able to turn. So let's see how it does now. I'm going to keep taking it slow. Alright, so that actually went in there. Now I'm going to remove the tailstock for a moment, move it completely out of the way. And we're going to pull the tool rest around to the front. And now I'm going to take my gouge and see if I can clean this up just a little bit and hope that it will hold in place. If not, I can go back and clean it up by hand with a chisel. All right, so that's what I was afraid of. The clean wood, it just doesn't want to hold in place there. Got it back centered. Now I'm going to take my smallest gouge that I have and try to clean out this center hole. Okay, so this has been an interesting project. There's been some fails, there's been some intriguing discoveries with it, but you know what? Trial and error is all part of art. When you're working on art, now, as an artist, I do a lot of art when it comes to drawing, painting, things of that nature. So this too is artwork. And a lot of times what we see as a failure indeed becomes part of art. Now, this piece here, I'm going to pull the camera down so you can see it. You can see where we took the chisel and just kind of roughed it up. And this piece right here, this is where I was talking about. Let me adjust the camera over to where you can see what I'm talking about. This piece right here was a piece that chipped out. That is okay. Nothing wrong with that, because again, this is art. We're going to put fire to this. That's right. It's time for some fire. Here we go. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and take the torch. I'm going to torch the top part of this as well. And I may come back and torch the bottom a little bit more to make it, to give it that, oh, it just came out of a fire look. So let's go ahead and relight the torch and bring back some fire. Oh, yeah. About. All right, so we have really charred the bottom of this and charred around the edges and top, because we want this to have that it's been in a fire look. And now we're going to spray a little bit of I think we're going to put a lacquer finish on this. We're not going to sand this. I want to keep that rough look because this is an unfinished piece. and that's what we want it to appear to be, an unfinished piece. So here we go. You know what? I'm going to remount this back onto the lathe so that I can access all points of this. It doesn't have to be on there tight. All right, here we go. And the reason I'm putting it on the lathe is this way I can actually turn the piece and get all sides. Now I'm going to flip the lathe on and let it spin for a moment. And this is going to spin off any excess lacquer that's on here and help to kind of get some air flowing around it to kind of speed up the drying process. Alright, so here is the finished piece. And we're going to get some pictures of this later, put at the end of the video. But it's basically just a rough piece. We wanted to have that rustic appearance. Oh, it just came out of fire. This is a piece of art. That's all it is. It's not a completed piece. Now, these are some flowers that I picked up. Now, these are, I'm not going to put these in to stay in at the moment. They still have the tags on them and everything. Just kind of gives you a rough idea of what can be done with this. Something like this. Of course, we will work on this, put together a piece to put in here, and then we will get pictures of it and put it out to display a finished piece. So stay tuned for that right at the end of this video. Hold on just a second because I want to show you a little bit closer shot of this before we get into it. Okay, so this is what we have. As you can see, this has a lot of roughness to it where we chiseled out to give it that appearance of a work in progress that was interrupted by a fire or something and chipped out pieces. This is purely art. It was just something I wanted to throw together out of a piece of limb that I had laying out here. Couldn't do a whole lot with this piece because I had to turn away a lot of wood to get past the insect damage and everything, but wanted to maintain that look of going with that. I like the way it turned out. So give me a comment below and tell me what you think. Stay tuned at the very end of this to see some photos of the completed project. And in the next video, we're going to experiment with another new project, something that I haven't done yet. So stay tuned for that one as well. Guys, again, this was just a fun, quick project that I wanted to try to do to see how it would turn out. Of course, there's going to be a lot of cuts that you've noticed. If you noticed, it kind of cut from spot to spot. Did a lot of cuts when we was trying to figure out what was the best route to go with this. Of course, the faceplate idea didn't work because this is green wood, meaning it has a lot of moisture in it, so the screws would not hold good enough for the faceplate part to work. We put the chuck on it, and again, the same problem. This green wood is very, very soft, so when we started trying to turn and work the end of it, it was just such a long piece that it did not want to cooperate. So we just went with the way we did, and it still turned out pretty good. Again, you know, when you're doing stuff like this, this is purely art. It's an art form. So the little imperfections, the mistakes that takes place in it, the little chip outs, that is part of the art and part of the artistic value of this piece. So comment below what you think of this piece and what you think of the idea, and hopefully in the near future I can get a hold of a little bit harder, more denser wood that is still green, because we want it to be green and has less insect damage, that we can try to do another similar project with this and go from there. So until next time, remember to stay crafty, because hey, I know I would.